Good evening. I want to welcome you to the Frankfort Area Chamber of Commerce forum for City Commission race for the general election of 2020. I'm Dave Weller, your host this evening, your moderator. I'm not going to, like Chris Wallace, say I'm going to try to be invisible, but I'll try to make sure we stay somewhat relatively on track. I want to thank all of you for being here. We're looking forward to our time together. It's going to be lengthy, so if you would stay on track with regards to the times. We're going to give each of you an opportunity to make a 1-minute opening statement. In the end, we're going to give each of you an opportunity to make a 1-minute closing statement. In between, our panel, which is composed of Steve Stewart of the Frankfort State Journal, Kathy Lindsay of the Frankfort Plant Board, and Kristen Cantrell of Cap City Communications, will provide questions for you to answer. I'll provide some direction to make sure that each of you get an opportunity to be the first one to answer and the last one to answer during the process, and attempt to mix that up. This Chamber of Commerce forum is brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce and also those same Frankfort State Journal, Frankfort Plant Board, Cap City Communications, as well as together Frankfort partnering together. I want to thank all of our panelists for being here. I want to thank everybody that's been a part of this. Susie Hosley, you need to be able to see her on tube because she's going to be the timekeeper, and she's going to give you a warning at 20 seconds, and then she's going to put a stop up. When she puts the stop up, I'm going to attempt gently to nudge you towards an end. If it goes on much beyond that, David Columbia has the opportunity to mute you. So we do have a drop the mic moment if we need it. We have 8 candidates for the 4 positions for the City Commission, and I'm looking forward to all of you. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to read your names in alphabetical order. If I in any way mess up any of them, please interrupt me, and because I want to make sure that I pronounce each of these correct. I think I know many of you, but I don't know all of you. So for City Commission, we have 8 candidates tonight in what I believe to be alphabetical order. Harry Carver, Kelly May, Anna Marie Rosen, Diane Strong, Kyle Thompson, Lisa Unger, Patricia Waldridge, and Eric Westman. You folks ready to get underway? So again, we're going to start with a 1-minute opening statement. Let's go ahead and start with alphabetically. We'll start with Harry. Harry, you're going to get 1 minute to make your opening statement in a case for why you should be on the next City Commission. Go. Unmute yourself, Harry. Harry, unmute. I don't know if I can do that. David, can you unmute Harry? Sorry. Harry, can you unmute yourself? Can you hear me?
It wasn't doing it. It is now.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Harry Carver, and I appreciate the opportunity tonight. I think that in talking about why I would run for City Commission, I've been involved in community organizations over the years, and it always amazed me how, what a great community we have, the volunteers that we have, the assets this community have. Yet we've been relatively stagnant for 30 years. And I think that after a while, you need to ask yourself, if you're not going to step in and try to do something, who is? So this year, that's what I decided to run for commission, because I feel I have plenty to offer, having worked with local governments across the state for a number of years. And I look forward, I've enjoyed the campaign, although it's been a little bit odd, but I really look forward to using this opportunity to move Frankfort forward.
Okay, thanks, Harvey. Appreciate it. Sorry about the interruption. Again, reminding the candidates, please unmute yourself as you begin to speak. That's our opportunity so we can focus on what you're saying and make sure we can hear you. The next person I have in line is Kelly May. Kelly, would you like to make an opening statement?
Absolutely, David. I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks to everybody for hosting this. As we know, this has been a very interesting campaign and an incredibly interesting time in our community just across the board. I grew up here in Frankfort. My wife and I recently purchased our first home here and started our family over in the Indian Hills neighborhood on the east side of town. I do have some investments in the downtown corridor, and I'm really excited and kind of see that as one of our greatest opportunities to help funnel more tax revenue into our city so that we can use that to help not just one specific district in our community, but all of us. I said when I was running with the idea that I wanted to help increase the social and economic well-being of all of our citizens, and that still remains true today. You know, as we will continue to hear from everybody, none of us expected to be in the situation that we're in now with the national pandemic, and things have been a little difficult, but I believe this is a community that's resilient and we have a great field to choose from. But I'm very passionate and believe I should get your vote. I'm excited to get it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Next, we have Anna Marie Rosen. Anna Marie, would you like to make an opening statement? 1 minute.
Yes, thank you, Dave. I'm Anna Marie Rosen. I'm very pleased to be a candidate for City Commission and bring important strengths that will move projects forward. My website is annamarierosen.com, and my Facebook site, where I do almost daily posts about positive aspects of our community, is Anna Marie Rosen 2020. I can be reached by email at annamarierosen2020@gmail.com. My background is working on technical problems for 3M and more recently, with the Frankfort Plant Board as a board member. I have strengths to understand complex issues and find solutions. While on the Frankfort Plant Board, I promoted common sense strategic answers and improved customer service. I believe in that public institutions should put people first, be transparent, and use extreme care in handling public money. Frankfort has great potential and opportunities not seen for decades. If elected, I will advance our city by working with the mayor and commission to reach out to the entire community.
You could wrap up, please. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I apologize if you ever get cut off. We're making every attempt, but please make sure you can see the timekeeper, Miss Susie. All right, I believe we're up to you, Diana Strong. Would you like to make an opening statement, please?
Yes, I'm Diane Strong. Unlike the rest of the candidates, I'm fairly new to Frankfort. I had to go out and decide where I wanted to live that was within commuting distance to Lexington. And of all of the different choices I had, including Lexington, I chose to be in Frankfort because it's an amazing little town. Even though it is amazing, I feel like there's a lot of things that could make it even more amazing. I have what I like to call fresh eyes. I think I come from an outside perspective, which is unique to some of the candidates who have been here for a long time. I take special interest in seeing other communities and what makes them tick, what makes them work and work well. And I like to bring those ideas here. So I'm really excited. I have lots of energy. I'm very optimistic. And I really think that this next commission is going to get a lot done. I look forward to being a part of it.
Thank you, Diane. Kyle Thompson, your turn, sir.
Thank you, Dave. I want to thank the Chamber for having this event tonight. I'm a Frankfort kid, born and raised. I came back to Frankfort, chose to come back to Frankfort after my education. I chose to raise a family here. I have 5 children now, ranging in age from 18 to 9. I love this town with all my heart, but my town has some issues and I want to address those issues. We have a growth problem that we have to face, the fact that we've had almost zero growth in 40 years. We have a crime problem. We have an opioid addiction problem. We have some issues that need to be addressed, and I want to be a part of the solution to help that, help my hometown get past that. I'm excited about what the future holds, and I'm excited about this group of candidates. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight.
Thank you, Kyle. Lisa Unger, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Lisa Unger, and I'm ready to represent you as one of Frankfort's next city commissioners. For years, I've felt like my city commissioners weren't representing me, so I said, why not be one? Frankfort hasn't seen population growth in years, and the conversation's always about trying to get tourists to visit, bring new business. trying to attract individuals and young families to move here. So why not just let the next generation get elected and start making decisions at City Hall that we have wanted for years? So let's shape the Frankfort that we've wanted. And that way we can attract visitors, new citizens, and create a better quality of life for those that already live here. While campaigning, it became clear to me that many members of our community feel the same way. So just make sure that you vote smart, get educated, and as your city commissioner, I'll listen to you. I'll be a voice for those that need me, and I will fight for you. So thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, Patricia Waldridge. Patricia, it's your turn.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Patricia Waldridge. I'm your city commissioner and mayor pro temp now in Frankfort. I have enjoyed the last year and something to almost 2 years representing you, being your voice. Why? Because I'm a mother of 2 boys and, we're looking for more opportunities, more amenities. And so that's why I jumped in 2018 to say, hey, I have a voice. I want to use that to help move Frankfort forward. We're looking to continue. I ran it on transparency, accessibility, and intentional, and I continue to do that. That is something that is needed. That's something that we as citizens and taxpayers deserve, and I will continue doing that. So I ask for your vote for re-election, number 4 on the ballot, and just thank you to the Chamber, Frankfort Plant Board, and all of you that are present here to ask questions, giving your time. So thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. Next up is Eric Westman. Eric, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, David. Since taking office last year, I've dedicated myself to this community, and I've taken the job that I was elected to very seriously, and the people's lives that are at stake that we are here to serve and protect. And I've proven my ability to shape our future. And in light of this pandemic, it's been one of the most difficult experiences of my life, to be honest. But I have never, and I will never lie to you, because integrity and consequences matter. There are other candidates who manipulate and deceive, who prefer to divide us and don't respect the positions and frankly don't deserve your votes. But with so many good things happening in our community, Frankfort, we can't afford to continue a reality show. I ask that you critically review the candidates, evaluate their record, and vote for people that are agreeable, that could work together. I try to work with all of those people different than me, with different ideas, to build bridges. And as the most experienced and competent candidate, I ask for your vote to continue to be your community servant and help Frankfort reach our potential. I know we have a bright future ahead of us if we all just work together and set aside our differences. I ask you to vote for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's begin to get into the questions our panelists have. In order to make an attempt to vary who goes first, Harry, since you did the first opening statement, we'll start the first question with Kelly May. Steve Stewart, do you have a question you want to address to Kelly and the other members of the commission?
Happy to, Dave. Thanks. Thank you, candidates, for putting yourselves forth for public service and for answering our questions here tonight. What a great exercise in democracy. One of the most important decisions on the horizon in city government is the selection of a permanent new city manager. Should the current commission make that decision, or should the 4 of you who are elected on November 3rd make that decision? And please explain your answer.
Thanks for the question, Mr. Stewart. Simply put, right now, I think the focus needs to be on what's best for this community. So if we get to the point to where not having an active full-time city manager, permanent placement there is hindering us, then let's go ahead and get started on that process. And you know what? It's their right to do it. It's their legal right to do it. So I would support that decision if the current Board of Commissioners chooses to do that. Just like I would ask if I'm put in the same situation towards the end of my term, if I'm fortunate enough to serve, that the public would understand that too. That being said, the most important thing we need to do is focus on who we put in that role. Let's make sure that when we're getting candidates, that we're attracting people that understand our community. They don't have to be from here, but they need to understand it. They need to understand what our struggles have been and where we're trying to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Marie, what's your thoughts on that? Anna Marie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I forgot to unmute, so now I'm unmuted. And yes, the question of replacing the interim city manager now before the new commission takes place or later. And I'm in favor of the system that is set up. The reason why commission members are voted in every 2 years is to be responsive to the public. And I think that to go through this election, find out what the public's opinion is on candidates for a city commission, and then those candidates choose the permanent manager would be the best choice. And I would like to see the permanent choice being delayed to the new commission.
Diane?
Sure. I agree with Ms. Rosen. I think that Tommy Russell is very competent. He's doing an excellent job as interim, and I don't see any reason to push the hiring of a new city manager. I agree that it really needs to be up to the future to hire the new candidate, not the existing commission. And also that would give us the option to possibly hire back Keith Parker if that's available to us. So yeah, I think it's the right thing to do is to wait. It's the diplomatic thing to do.
Okay, thank you. I believe we're you, Kyle. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's within the power of the city commission to go ahead and hire a full-time city manager. I think it's important that that decision be held for the new city commission that is put in after the first of the year. And there's a few reasons why that is, but the main reason is I think the current commission is a bit tainted. They've made some decisions regarding the city manager position that are unfounded at this point and don't have any basis. And because of that, we probably need to allow the new commission to make that determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Lacey, your turn. Who should select the new city manager?
I believe, you can't stop doing your job just because you have 2 months left and there's an election coming up. But I do agree that our interim city manager is doing a great job. So why rush and try to get someone hired? Let our city speak on who they want to vote and let some of us hire a new city manager. So thank you.
Thank you. Patricia, want to weigh in on this?
Oh, I'd love to. Well, first and foremost, I do think that the city commission now should not. I don't think that this commission is ethically competent to actually hire a city manager for the next commission. I think that when that commission comes in, they should be required to do that. We've had so many issues with the city mayor now and other people on this commission that why should they make a decision when so many have left underneath of their leadership? So I think right now they're serving personal agendas and things of that nature. And I think we need to, as a community, say, put a stop to this and allow the next commission to bring in someone who can work with them and someone's going to serve our city. Right now, we are at the hands of good people that are helping lead our community, such as Laura Ross and our interim. Oh.
Need to wrap up. Sorry, Patricia.
No, that's okay.
Let's go to Eric Westman. Eric, you're on the floor.
Yeah, talk about agendas. Yeah, let's get to the facts. It's what's best for Frankfort. And I believe that we need to have a holistic view. It's not us or them. We've got to start working together. And I think my plan for going forward, much like Patricia and I were afforded when we took office, we were in the same situation with an interim position, is to work with both the old and the new. And it's a bit presumptive or premature to decide who's going to be elected or not. But there is a potential to have the new commission sit in and go ahead and start the hiring process so that we can have the experience of people who have long-term service with the city, as well as the fresh eyes, and hopefully myself reelected to be one of those to select that person. And I do appreciate very much Mr. Russell stepping into the role for now for us and continuing that continuity that we need currently, because experience matters.
Okay. Harry, you have the last word on this?
I would certainly hope that the current commission would wait and allow the new commission to hire the city manager. I think that we need the stability that Tommy's providing right now before we go into the whole process of finding a new city manager. And I'm not sure that in the meantime that we would be able to attract many candidates, knowing the turmoil that we've been in. So I think it just makes sense all the way around to wait until after the first of the year to start the process.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Kathy,
Yes.
would you ask your question beginning with Anna Marie Rosen, please?
Sure. My question is really a follow-up to Steve's. What do you think the city commission should look for in a new city manager? And also, several candidates have indicated that they would rehire Kevin Parker. Is that something, I'm sorry, Keith Parker. Is that something you would consider?
Okay. Thank you for the question, Kathy, and thank you to the Frankfort Plant Board for being one of the hosts for this forum as well. I think looking at the overall capabilities of all of the candidates that we might consider would be an important step. And I would not rule out Keith Parker, but I think that we need to look at the full range of possible candidates. I think I am thankful for Tommy Russell for keeping everything moving during this transition period. And I think that also it would be a good test for having the new commission, which will be made up of at least 3 new members, to make this decision.
Okay, thank you. Diane Strong, your turn.
Well, I think one of the most important aspects of a city manager is that they really work well, not only with the commission and the mayor, but with the community, because that's who they're really having to work with, all of the entities in the city. But boy, I love somebody who has a lot of ambition and somebody who's got a lot of vision and energy and hasn't been told no so many times that they're not willing to try. And somebody who's brave and willing to take some big steps that Frankfort in the past has always been a little afraid to do. So, and people who are willing to work with the commission and follow up with our dreams too, you know?
Thank you. Carl Thompson?
First and foremost, whoever is chosen as the next city manager needs to at least meet the qualifications that the city manager has to have to be city manager. At this point, Mr. Russell doesn't hold a lot of those qualifications. Mr. Parker did. Mr. Parker had the education, training, and the familiarity with Franklin County and Frankfort, and I think he would be a good choice if we decided to go that route. But whoever it is needs to be someone that meets all the qualifications and is someone that is able to jump into the job day one and make changes that need to be made right away.
Okay. Lisa Unger?
You know, I think the issue might come down to, you know, who's going to be willing to apply with our track record. So, you know, I'm hoping we get some quality candidates and they're gonna have to be able to communicate well, work well, be patient, be a problem solver. And I would like to see someone with a special vision. I mean, it's great to have somebody local, but I would be open to having somebody from out of town as well. Just it brings in a whole new perspective. So I hope I can help hire the new city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia, your opportunity.
Well, I think that with the city manager, I think that definitely it's some that people have shared. You know, they have to be able to work with staff. They have to be able to work with the city commission. To me, they have to have an outlook on it's okay to take big steps and take opportunities. You know, it's okay to look at these big opportunities and say we can go after them and stop leaving Frankfort in a box. I think also engineering background. We must have someone that's able to go through projects and be able to walk through those. You know, someone that's been able to communicate with the state and federal, you know, and I think, yes, I would hire back Keith. He's been fired for personal agendas and personal reasons, and it had nothing to do with his work ethic or anything of that nature, as we clearly see. And so, yes, I would definitely hire back Keith Parker. He's doing a great job. He brought a great morale to our city. He has been an excellent city manager. So, yes, I would hire him back.
And Eric?
Yeah, you know, first I want to just correct Mr. Thompson. Actually, Mr. Parker's credentials compared to Mr. Russell is far and ahead. I reviewed this credentials, so I know. You know, the city is no different than a corporation, really, with a board of directors who hire a president to carry out their wishes and their directives. And if you have a president who's working against the commission or not carrying forward directives, then they have to be removed. We need someone with the experience to manage the day-to-day duties, who don't try to get into the political realm, and who have the ability to carry forward the directives that the commission give them to completion. Mr. Russell has been fantastic. He's got more done in the last 2 months than we've had done in the last year and a half. And we've got to have someone with that experience and that ability to carry forward the directives and make the things happen that our community wants to see in the day-to-day.
We need to wrap up.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Harry Carver, I believe it's your turn.
I think regardless of who it is, the next commission, I would certainly hope, would make a commitment to actually living within the city manager form of government and recognizing that is what our structure is, and allowing the city manager to do their job without interference and micromanagement. Whether that's Keith or not, I can't say. I think Keith was doing a great job. I think that with the new commission needs to have this discussion to see whether that makes sense or not. But I think the one thing they are going to have to do is come together and make a commitment that they are going to behave responsibly and allow the staff to do their job. There's a reason we hire competent staff, and that I would certainly hope that we let them do what they're supposed to do.
Kelly May, you have the final word on this topic.
Thank you. You know, first and foremost, I think I'll kind of do this question backwards. As far as, you know, would I hire the former city manager back? I am not going to run a campaign of speculation. Look, I think it's kind of, I'm not going to say unfair by any means, but there's two members here that are running that have information that we don't have. So when it comes to personnel issues, I'm going to be professional. In my business and my day-to-day, how dare me speculate if somebody should or shouldn't have been let go when I don't even have all the information sitting here in front of me to make that decision. That being said, whoever we choose, yeah, they need to be qualified. There's state and federal education programs out there, training seminars that people can go to and get certified to become a city planner. We need that. We need that type of leadership. And again, you know, our role as Board of Commissioners will be to set the standards and set the direction, and then the day-to-day can be followed out by that individual who we get fortunate enough.
We need to wrap up. Okay, thank you. Okay, we have our third question. Kristen Cantrell, Cap City Communications. Would you please direct your first question to Diane Strong?
Yes, I will. Hi, Diane. What role do you see the city playing in promoting and leveraging the bourbon tourist trends that bring thousands of visitors annually to our area? And do you support using some CARES Act funds to help reopen bourbon tourism in Frankfort?
Well, I mean, as you know, working with Bourbon on the Banks in the past, I am a fan of bourbon tourism and bringing people here. I think it's a great opportunity for the city. We'd be silly not to encourage bourbon tourism and spend some money to expand on it. So I think as far as the city goes, encouraging and these festivals to happen, working well with them to partner with them to get all of the stuff that takes to put on some of these events, working with tourism closely. We definitely need to take advantage of the tourism that comes from the bourbon industry.
Okay, thank you. Kyle Thompson.
I absolutely think we should tap into the bourbon tourism. It is in our backyard. We should absolutely look to expend some funds regarding that. The Bourbon on the Banks Festival was a huge success. Unfortunately, with the way things are this year, we weren't able to have it when we did the year before. I think there's a potential that if the TIF falls apart for parcels B and C, that maybe there could be a reorganization of those funds to include the bourbon industry and be able to recapture more money for the state. And I think we need to be looking towards that as a real possibility in the future.
Thank you. Lisa Unger?
I agree with everyone. Bourbon tourism is very important to Frankfort. It keeps people visiting, and whatever we can do to help. I don't exactly know how it would work with CARES funds and what those funds would go towards, but I would definitely look into, what we could do to help any local distillery or, continue to help local small businesses that are around as well. But we do need to be diligent with those funds and other, taxes and city funds, because we don't know what COVID is going to leave us like as we move forward. So I just say we have to be diligent with those.
Thank you. Patricia Waldridge, your turn, please.
Yes, I definitely support bourbon tourism in Frankfort. I definitely think that it should grow. It's a booming area right now in our city. We have local businesses that sit right in our city that support this, and definitely our surrounding areas in our counties. And we also have to take in consideration that when we bring in bourbon tourism, they're going to spend money in our restaurants, for our hotels, and in our shops. So again, pushing bourbon, pushing this bourbon trend, using all that we can. Yes, it's going to be a great return on ROI. But yes, I also think that if there's a way to use CARE Act's money, that we should definitely use it. And I know that we're working on some things now. So.
Great, thank you. Eric Westman.
Yeah, I'm careful to say that we need to reopen tourism as the question was phrased. Our goal and role is to make sure that the safety of our community is first and foremost always. And so, we already have tours and things going on in a careful manner. So I just want to say that, but we already are. The current commission has just put CARES money to grants for local businesses to make sure that they survive and continue to serve the tourism industry. It's not about building tourism. It's already here. Buffalo Trace had 250,000 people through the distillery last year alone. That's one entity, not even related to state government. The tourism's already here. I'm working with Kentucky State and Buffalo Trace and some other entities to create some new initiatives that will help us monopolize on what is already our heritage and what is an economic driver in our community that we just need to expand upon outside of this pandemic.
Harry Carver, your turn, sir.
One of the things that the purposes of the CARES Act money was to help communities that, are, suffering as a result of the pandemic. And our tourism budget has been decimated by the pandemic. The tourism efforts are funded by the transient room tax. And that has, we just haven't had folks staying in hotels. So, Robin Antonucci has not had the money to work with. So I certainly think it would be appropriate to use CARES Act money to supplement her budget to reach out. We have hundreds of thousands of people that come to Buffalo Trace every year, and we have not really been able to capture the volume that we need, to help our local businesses. I know that Kelly, they've got a great relationship with Buffalo Trace, and there's folks being driven downtown, that are visiting there at Buffalo Trace, but it's going to take a much more concerted effort, and I think that money can help move that along.
Thank you. Kelly May, your turn.
Thank you. What's incredible and what I want everybody to focus on right now is the fact that this is something that we all seem to be agreeing on. Not everybody, I don't think, has answered the questions yet, but they'll have that opportunity. But yeah, we all know that to the bottom line, tax revenue is going to be how we get projects done and how we continue to increase it. And one of the biggest tax revenue opportunities for us is to continue. No surprise. Obviously, I'm a big supporter of it with having a business, Bourbon on Main. We know we've seen the effects. We're weathering this storm, and we're fortunate to still be here and have a community that wants to support it. The only thing I would say as far as using CARES money would be to make sure that we're using it, however we use it, in the most efficient way to benefit the majority of this community as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, Anna Marie Rosen, your turn.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think expanding on bourbon tourism would be a great move. It would put a concrete expression into Kentucky Distilled, the name that was chosen for Frankfort. And I think it would be a very positive thing. It would help us to build on the local businesses that we have, help create more job growth. And it would also could be helped by the CARES Act fund, which whatever the rules are at that point will be important to consider. So yes, I think great idea and something we definitely need and should work on.
Thank you. I'll ask my panelists here. We've got a little bit of an interim here. Do we have any follow-up questions from any of these first questions that the candidates have answered? If not, we'll move on to the next round. Steve, we're going to start with you, but in order to make sure that people aren't always behind in the same order every time answering questions, we're going to reverse this. So Steve, if you would, that's the power of you can throw me out next time, the power of the moderator. So Steve, if you would ask your next question initially to Eric Westman.
Commissioner, is Frankfort a business-friendly community in your opinion? If you believe it is, defend it. Tell us why. If you believe it's not, what would you do to make it more business-friendly, assuming you believe that to be a good goal?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. You know, we have a reputation that I hear far and wide that Frankfort's difficult for businesses to work in and to develop here. I don't believe that's quite the fact. I think there are maybe more hurdles to jump through as home of state government that a lot of times our inspectors are state inspectors, and there seems to be holdups in processes that aren't necessarily beneficial to our community. I'm thankful maybe that the county has just got expanded jurisdiction that they can take over some of those inspections now and maybe make that easier. But absolutely, we've got to work on being more business friendly. We've just established a grant program, but I want to develop a brand new business focused center, a small business center that focuses on small business development and recruitment in this community to help facilitate where I believe is the biggest opportunity for growth for our community, which is small business development and assistance.
Thanks, Eric.
Quick follow-up for Commissioner Wisman. Would you be willing to budget city funds for the creation of that center?
30 seconds.
Sorry, it muted me there. Absolutely, I'm hoping to. I would prefer to reevaluate all of our existing economic development infrastructure, if you will, and see what's going to take us into the forward and put some significant community funding towards that initiative, because it's going to pay dividends. We've got to start creating jobs that are not reliant on state government and affording opportunity to our residents to build their own practices and their own opportunity and attracting new businesses, minority businesses and otherwise here. And I think we're only going to get that done through adding significant funds to a determined venture, which is a small business initiative. And it's proven great. 3 of Kentucky's small towns were in the top 50 a few years ago in small business development. There's no reason Frankfort can't be part of that statistic as well and benefit from it.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick reminder, initial questions, you have 45 seconds to respond. On follow-up questions like that, you have 30 seconds to respond. So we'll work together on that. The next opportunity is Commissioner Waldridge. Your turn to make a comment.
I think in previous years, I think we're getting better. I will have to say we're improving, but I think previously, as Eric Westman said, you know, we've had a tarnish on that. It's been hard for businesses to hear. But I think with the help and the leadership that Keith has had to bring in Blair Hecker, you know, working with Eric Cockley on some things, I think making that one-stop shop area, being able to communicate, is getting rid of some of that red tape and being able to have people that will actually pick up the phone, will actually lead them through the process to make it easier for businesses. But the most prized possession is our community, is our taxpayers. You know, when businesses come in, our taxpayers and our residents, they love these businesses and they don't want them to go. And they have been doing an excellent job through COVID and paying patronism to them to go and get their food, their dinner, and things of that nature, and keeping these businesses going. So I think that's the real jewel in keeping our businesses here and wanting to be business friendly here.
Thanks, Patricia. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Lisa Unger, your opportunity to speak.
I'd have to sort of piggyback on a couple of these comments. You know, I think that Frankfort is business friendly. We're lucky to have a lot of the businesses and companies that we have. But there are a lot of hurdles to jump through. I think that, you know, we need to work on processes, making them smoother, making them faster. How can we do that? We do have some great groups in town that, you know, are representing Frankfort, trying to bring business in. But I also think we really need to be talking about who's here, how we can grow some of these companies and grow jobs locally, and sort of, you know, work on who we have. So yeah, there's always work to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle Thompson.
I've actually owned a couple of businesses in town, and I can speak from experience that Frankfort is not business friendly, at least small business friendly, right down to the ordinances related to signs on a building. It makes it very difficult for someone opening up a business to start a business and get things done. To have a one-stop shop is going to help cut that red tape and help us get things done a little bit better. But to have an entrepreneurial attraction and retention program where we use mentors in the community to help those who want to come into the community would help out greatly. But nothing helps if we don't get new businesses coming in, and you don't get that with 0% growth. So that's where we need to have our focus at this point.
Thank you. Diane Strong.
Well, really, whether we are good or bad, it doesn't matter. We have a bad reputation, and that costs us enormously. We personally have tried to bring investors to Frankfort, and they won't come because of the reputation. I know people who have been advised by realtors not to buy in Frankfort because we've been difficult to work with. So what I think is very important is changing that reputation. We need to listen to our small businesses, and we need to listen to our investors, and we need to find out what the problems are, not take offense, but address the problems, fix it, and really work on changing our reputation so that people are going to come here and spend their money.
Anna Marie Rosen, your opportunity, please.
Thank you. Well, my first thought is when people say business friendly, I'm not clear on exactly what that means. And I think it probably means different things to different people. But I also have noticed in talking to businesses that there is confusion about the rules, and businesses are not getting a clear message from the city. There are a number of departments, and they don't seem to coordinate that well together. So that would be an important first step, to coordinate the different parties within the city. I'm also confused or unsure about the position of KCBC and Downtown Frankfort Incorporated and how they work with new businesses as well as with the city. So I think some type of ombudsman or person to help new businesses through the system would be advisable.
Thank you. Kelly May, your turn.
Thank you. This is one of the main reasons why I decided to run. As somebody that has small businesses in our community, both still open, both still doing okay and weathering the storm, thanks to you all. We are fortunate to be here, but we know that we have a lot of room to do. I've gone through the process, not only starting a new business here in town, but doing it through a historic property, and dealing with those codes and what that looks like. But just keep in mind, we're focusing on us not being business friendly, but Bourbon on Main moved in 5.5 years ago. And since then we've seen 2 breweries start, Goodwood, Sig Lusher. We have Peace Bakery. We saw Hoggy's Ice Cream open up, Trifecta Barbecue. So the food and beverage industry is really, kind of, I think, doing quite well. And these are all mom and pops.
Thank you, Kelly. Harry, you have the last word on this one.
You know, I think it takes a long time to mend a bad reputation. I think we've set on that journey. We're getting there. We're not there yet. But we need to keep working on it. People need to be honest and have these discussions about issues that they run into when they're trying to open businesses so we can resolve it. One of the things we need to do is restructure our whole economic development effort. You know, what it is and how it is that KCDC relates to DFI, relates to the Tourism Commission, what role is it for the chamber, and really have a renewed focus on growing local business. Not that we don't need to recruit folks to come in here, but I think that we need to have a stronger focus on growing local business, because that really, in the greater scheme of things, is probably the most cost-effective economic development tool.
Thank you, Harry. Okay, let's go to the next question. Kathy Lindsay, you have the next question. Would you please ask your question of Commissioner Patricia Waldridge, please?
Yeah, sure. So we've talked about, you know, how we can attract businesses here and make it easier for them. But we also have to look at, we have nearly 20,000 commuters who travel to Frankfort every day here for work. So what can we do to attract them to live here?
Patricia, you're up. You just muted yourself.
There we go. Sorry. double click. Sorry. Well, you know what? I think it also leads back to actually what Kelly May was sharing. You know, we have to have the things that they want to come for first and foremost. So we want to have the restaurants. You want to have the amenities. You know, right now our YMCA is sort of falling apart, and they can go up the street to other places and get a state-of-the-art YMCA. We're dragging our feet, and we have to offer the housing that they're wanting. You know, the more urban housing, the opportunities, those things want people to stay in their backyard of where they're working. Right now, I think we've already put in some of the free chargers to allow people, you know, to charge their electric cars and things here. We have to continue doing things like that makes it more amenities for our residents and for people that want to come in. We have to make that look great and be able to want other businesses and things like that to come in for us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Lisa Unger, your opportunity to speak.
Yeah, we have to have the housing. Housing's a major issue. I was excited to hear about the development that's going to happen on the riverfront with Crumball. I'm also excited to see what will happen with the parcels as far as, you know, apartments downtown, because we need it. We need affordable housing, and I think we also need to focus on, you know, quality of life for our citizens and what will attract people to move here. So focusing on our parks, our assets, the river, we really need to figure out how to bring young families and be able to have housing for them.
Great. Mr. Thompson?
I'll piggyback a little bit on what was already said, but we have to have things that attract young families to want to come to Frankfort and stay in Frankfort. Since 2009, our housing building permits are in the teens, like total, like 18, 19 a year for the entire city. So we're not building any new homes. We don't have the amenities. We have a great school board right now, and for both city and county, and they're working to provide better schools, but we have to have all of those things to bring people in and want to stay in our community after the sun goes down. And that's my hope, that we'll be able to continue that process.
Thank you. Diane Strong?
Yeah, they've covered most of it. I 100% agree. We need to attract more millennials, basically, the younger population with children. They're the ones who are commuting here, I believe. And we need to focus on our outdoor spaces, walkability, bikeability, having everything that you need, that you really need within walking or biking distance from your home. This is something that's big on the younger generation's list. They want to be able to stroll with their kids around safely, tree-lined streets, just everything that provides a quality of life. But more than anything, we have a housing shortage, just like the rest of the country. So I think working with investors and people who are trying to fix up some of the old empty houses, that needs to be a focus as well.
Thank you. Anna Marie, you're up.
Yes. Well, I think I agree with most of the other candidates' view of this, that we need to make an attractive place to live. Housing is important, improving our parks and improving access to our parks. We're talking about the area where we lost the convention center, having a lot of housing. How can people walk to, for example, Cove Springs Park? There was a walkway from the plaza up to the hill, and it's not easy to find at this point. So I think improving our internet and as a recreational tool also for work and for education, community activities, and advancing our parks along with an array of housing at different price ranges, all would be important.
Thank you. Kelly May.
Thank you. So yeah, I won't echo. I think again, this is something that we all kind of agree on the same topics here. But so I'll use my time to kind of think about big picture and big planning on this. How do we actually get those opinions? You know, we have our opinions, but we should probably be listening to the ones that don't live here. Let's ask them. Let's go to them directly. See if there's a way we can find, start a poll. I mean, hey, Steve, you all like the polls on the Journal. Maybe we can get some Journal polls going to, ask the readers that don't live here what are some things that they think they'd like to see. I gotta echo the walkability side of it too, because where I'm at right now, I can be downtown in Cove Spring Park from the top up here on Hopi and Shinkle in about 20-25 minutes. But I got to get on a major road to do that. And I can't get down there safely pushing my daughter in her stroller.
Thank you, Kelly. Harry Carver, you're up.
I think that, folks, it's been interesting in the last year with the tightening of the housing market. So many people are moving here, either younger families moving back to Frankfort, folks that grew up here, and there's been a significant number of folks moving to Frankfort that haven't lived here before. And I think the word's starting to get out that we do have a good quality of life, that this is a good place to live. Not to say that we don't have improvements that we need to make, but we really need to, as everybody has talked about, we need to provide good housing choices. As from affordability to boomers downsizing, I mean, there's just a whole range of things that we need to address. And I think that that's got to be a big part of it, because if people don't have a place to live, they're not coming here.
Thank you. And Eric Westman?
Yeah, I want to correct a narrative that keeps going around that it's just outright false, that Frankfort isn't growing. The League of Cities estimates that we've had 7.5% population growth from 2010 to 2017, and those are our last numbers. And I can't wait to see what the census is going to show us this spring. But, one of the main things that we've all discussed is we need to make a livable community. And that's defined really as your ability to walk to services and goods within your own community. And that takes a number of steps. And I've been proud to push an initiative here to develop out what I believe is the first step, which is a master park plan to create that walkability and connectivity of every neighborhood to a park feature, so that adds to the quality of life. But we've got to develop, of course, new housing. And that is coming with the Parcel B development. I think that's going to be really transformational for our community. But
Thanks,
new
Eric.
housing is going up all around outside of our city limits
Thank you,
already. We need to consider.
I'm sorry, 45 seconds. We don't
Thanks.
have the ability to extend nor to keep us on track. So anyway, 45 seconds is a lot of time, but sometimes when you get in the middle of explaining yourself, I understand. So we'll just try to work together. If you hear me, though, it means you need to be wrapping up. So, okay. We're back to Kristen Cantrell, Cap City Communications. Kristen, and by the way, just a reminder, you might all want to take a deep breath. We're a little bit over halfway through. Good job. Everybody's still here. Okay. Kristen, would you ask your question initially of Lisa Unger, please?
Yes. Okay, so many of the things you all have been talking about in this last round of questions and answers were involved in the downtown master plan. That's why it was developed, in my opinion. I think it's a fantastic vision for our community over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years to develop, and it's going to take time. I think you all agree that housing is a piece of that. So aside from the housing piece of the downtown master plan, what piece of the downtown master plan would you prioritize if you had a magic wand and you had millions of dollars that just appeared? What part of the master plan would you prioritize? And could you pitch that to me like I'm an investor?
Okay, this is really hard. I could tell you multiple things. I am going to focus on the Broadway Bridge. It's something that the state has let fall to disrepair. There is potential for the state to find funds to fix that up. And that has been a part of the master plan. You know, if we can use that for pedestrian use again, that just is so much connectivity. It's part of what I do with Walk Bike Frankfort. We have a master plan for how can we connect these neighborhoods, how can we connect parks. And while out campaigning in Bell Point, I talked to 2 individuals that said, we just want to be able to use that bridge. We hate having to walk over the other walkway. It's hard to get downtown. You know, we want that bridge usable. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kyle Thompson, you're up.
I think it would be great if we did have a magic $1 million and we could focus on the blighted properties that we have in the downtown area. I think it would be great to be able to renovate, reconstruct, have a renaissance of those old historic areas while also progressing and bringing them up to code and having the ability to use those for modern usages. So I think there's all sorts of things that can go on with that, but I would love to see downtown Frankfort and all of Frankfort to be a little bit prettier and have less blighted properties.
Thank you. Ms. Strong?
If I had it my way, I think I would take more advantage of our river. I would love to see the boardwalk along East Main that we're looking into happen quickly. We have this gold mine that just runs right through the middle of our city, and for the most part, you can't see it very much. You can't get to it. It's just, we're missing so many opportunities. So many other cities take advantage of their river and having more dining opportunities that overlook the river, more recreation in the river. So that's what I would focus my attention on.
Thank you. Ms. Rosen?
Yes. I'm intrigued by the idea of how to pitch this to a developer who would be interested. And I think we have a unique opportunity in that we have a large open area right in the center of downtown. We have a walkable city, and it could even be enhanced by things like the Broadway Bridge that was mentioned, access to the nearby Cove Springs Park, Fort Hill, and also Cove Springs Park. And I think that one thing that's universally comes up as a void is our food desert, the lack of a grocery store. I've talked to people at Bell Point who think that's a great idea. They would love to have something accessible by foot. And that we also have a historic city presence, so something we can work with as a basis.
Thank you, Anna Marie. Kelly May?
Well, thanks for the question and the opportunity to kind of play along with the pitch here. So, you know, what I would tell any investor is Frankfort has a tendency to compare ourselves to those around us, and we box ourselves in and we forget what's unique about us. And so I agree with candidate Strong in that one of the most underutilized, greatest opportunities for us is our beautiful river, because it'll bring in tax revenue again through having more development, more shops, more businesses, potentially more, boathouses, places to live. It helps bring in people that commute from outside communities to get here. There's recreation opportunities again on the river for families. I mean, how cool would it be to have a little boathouse down, somewhere near one of these bridges where you can take a paddle boat out for the day. It just makes us unique. We need to focus on that.
Thank you, Kelly. Harry Carver, you're up, sir.
I think that the connectivity to the river is absolutely critical. I mean, we've talked about it for years that you can be downtown, and if you're not from here, you have no idea that there's a river here. And I think that's really important for not only for visitors, but for our own residents to take advantage of it. I think one of the things that if I had a magic wand with a lot of money is, we really need to replace or create more meeting space, because I think that we've missed the boat for years in being able to attract large gatherings. And I'm sure we'll be able to do that again after the pandemic. And we really need to be able to do that so that folks can come here and spend money and make our downtown even more economically successful than it could be.
Thank you, Harry. Eric Westman.
Yeah, thank you. The focus is traditionally all of us, including the commission, to focus on the infrastructure, which is the most costly part of it. But I like your question, Kristen. What I would focus on is what I do already. I try to share my enthusiasm with businesses and people that are potential residents about Frankfort, and saying that we are just about to take off and you want to get in now. We have bourbon tourism, 250,000 people. We have another 150,000 people that are state workers here every day. The river is ripe for business opportunity. We have new housing coming that's going to add 2,000 new residents and workers in the downtown core. And if, maybe some of the candidates haven't been downtown lately, but even during COVID, we have had an influx of building development. Some of our longest languishing buildings have been renovated all of a sudden. We're ripe. We are at the time for new opportunity, and you got to get in now.
Thank you, Eric. Ms. Patricia, you have the final word on this topic.
Great. Well, I've liked everyone's suggestions. I think they're great. But I would also agree with some of them, definitely. I would suggest Frankfort. We are unique. We're beautiful. We're a diverse community with lots of opportunity. We have been able to put together a workforce team with city staff, with business owners, KCDC, DFI. I think we have tons of buildings here that are ready for revamping. They're ready for new ownership. They're ready. Our city is craving for more opportunities and more amenities. And I think now is the time more than ever that you will get the largest return on your ROI if you come to Frankfort now and help us rebuild and bring in opportunities in our downtown Frankfort.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've made another cycle of the panelists. I'll ask the panelists, is there any follow-up question you want to ask at this point? Otherwise, we'll head into the next round. Hearing nothing from the panelists, want to thank them again and thank all of our candidates for hanging in here. We've got one more full round of panelist questions, and after that, we'll have to wait and see where we are in the process. We are back to Steve Stewart. Steve, you have the next question. And if you would, please ask that of Kyle Thompson first.
It might not surprise you all to know that the newspaper guy wants to spend a little time talking about transparency. It's a topic that I'm really passionate about. Commissioner Waldridge has leveled some pretty serious allegations about lack of transparency with the current commission. Of course, the most high profile one being the dismissal of the city manager. The intent of my question is not to delve too much into that specific controversy, but to talk on a bigger picture about what is the appropriate level of communication, discussions, negotiations, et cetera, with colleagues outside of council chambers. Commissioner Waldridge has alleged that many conversations are happening, that discussions about what gets on the agenda, what doesn't get on the agenda, trading this for that, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not naive. I know elected officials talk outside the meeting. But I'm curious about each of your philosophies on what level is appropriate. When you're not in council chambers, we were on a prior call with Franklin County jailer candidates. They were asked about integrity. One said, the integrity is what you do when nobody's looking, nobody's listening. I want to know how you all would conduct yourselves outside of council chambers in discussions with colleagues on the board.
That's a really good question. I think when it comes to discussions with other members, there has to be respect. There always has to be respect between the members. And what I'm seeing with the current city commission, and even people here today, one individual in particular just doesn't have respect for other individuals. And that bleeds over into all of his comments and all of the things that he says. And because of that, leadership then suffers. So I think you have to have respect, and that respect goes a long way. I would just think that you cannot make decisions, and you can't have a decision-making process outside of those chambers, but you have to have a level of respect for everyone that you're dealing with.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay, Diane Strong, you're up.
Well, I would like to say that I think the new board that comes in probably needs to do what you had suggested in the paper, which is to have some training to go over what is appropriate and what the rules are. I think the city has probably gotten a little lax and lazy, and it's catching up to them. Personally, I'm an idea person. I want to talk to everybody all the time and bounce ideas around, and evidently we can't do that without having the public there to do it. So I would want to have a lot of town roundtables, I think they're called, where we actually get together publicly and talk. And I guess I would do as much talking as I legally could with my fellow board members.
Thank you. Anna Marie Rosen.
Anna Marie, you're muted.
Okay, I got it now. I think the real question here is, what is your interpretation of the open meeting laws, and how would you respect those or deal with them? And I think that having served on the plant board, members need to talk to each other, to get to know each other to some extent, to understand their perspective and understand some of their basic views about the situation, so that when they're in a meeting, they can start from a basis point of understanding. I think expressing which way you would vote on something, or an exact consideration, a final consideration, should not happen outside of the meeting. But communicating with each other so that you understand and have a basis for further discussions is reasonable and good. Thank you.
A quick follow-up with Anna Marie, Dave.
Yes, go ahead.
Anna Marie, you raised your experience on the plant boards. Speak specifically, and actually you were chair of that board for a period.
I was for 2 years, yes.
The process for getting something on the agenda, should that be just really open, candid discussion, or should individual members be able to negotiate what gets on the agenda and what doesn't?
That's an interesting question. How it worked on the plant board was the chair made the decision of what was acceptable for the agenda. I know that the city has incorporated some different rules, that there's a review process to see what goes on the agenda. I think that the informal process and working that out is good. I think that ultimately the mayor should have a lot to say about what's appropriate on the agenda at that point.
Okay, we good?
Yep.
Kelly May, the original question.
Thanks for the question. Well, first and foremost, I'm just going to do everything I can on day one to get in there and understand, really try to dive into these laws and understand them better. Plain and simple, I think you should conduct yourself legally. That's a no-brainer. As far as what's appropriate to discuss, outside of those chambers, I absolutely believe in staying and being transparent. I think all members should be, included in what is discussed, both in closed meeting and open. As far as who puts those things on the agenda and stuff, I'm going to absolutely go back to, kind of following the structure that's already there, and going with that. I mean, in short, I could run around this over and over again, but simply put, what's legal, what's ethical, that simple.
Terry Carper.
I think when we look at the open meetings laws and as an elected official, and I would hope that the next commission would have a conversation about this as they started, is to try to take, I don't want to say the narrowest interpretation, but you've got to be careful about looking for angles and getting around the open meetings laws. We have to be as transparent and straightforward as possible. And that also includes limiting closed sessions to the reasons that they're intended, because I know that for years they've been stretched out and people have made, worked them this way and that way. And there's been a lot of discussion behind the scenes that should passively have been public. And I think that we need to be very mindful of that going forward because of the how the public feels about their elected officials and what has happened over the past year, or years, I should say.
Thank you. Eric Westman, I believe it's your turn.
Yeah, I want to speak to some of the accusations that have been made that anger me greatly. They're unbiased, or unbased, and ridiculous. Our city went through a process to become a certified city of ethics, and we just received our award for that just a couple of months ago. I think last month, in fact, I think. And I've been very cognizant always of never making collective decisions and being careful about what we discuss. But it is a fine line. You have to develop relationships, and you have to learn how to disagree without being disagreeable, and you have to have respect for your colleagues to get anything done. But there are parameters that you have to follow to make sure that you're doing things in the public forum. And I was very proud to make sure that we put our meetings on Facebook now, so that the community can see everything we're doing and actively engaging in discussions.
Thank you, Eric.
Follow up, Dave. Commissioner Westman, what allegation is ridiculous?
Commissioner Waldridge has made many allegations, including several in our meeting just last night, that were unfounded, unbased, that there has been collective decision making all along, and that's not the case. And she has no proof. And Mr. Thompson has also filed a suit just today that we got notice of the same accusations, as well as the newspaper. So I think it's a bit inappropriate even for that question to come from that manner. But they are unbased, and we'll see when the Attorney General decides soon that there was no collective decision making, and we are always following the regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other follow-up questions, Steve? No, I'm going to go.
Have we heard from all candidates on this question?
No. Patricia's next, and then we have Lisa. You ready? Okay, Patricia Waldridge, you have the floor. It's all yours.
Oh, wow. Only 45 seconds. Okay, well, transparency is something I ran my campaign on, and transparency is a given. This is why you are a public official. You are only a voice of the people. You are not a voice for self or for selfish agendas or things of that nature. I, Patricia Waldridge, took an oath that I have kept. Others have broken. I plan on continuing to be transparent. I have not spoken on anything such as HIPAA laws, the price of property, or anything of that nature. We also, as commissioners, have to understand that these rules and regulations are to protect the people that we're talking about in those sessions. We're not talking about those as personal individuals. So when you start protecting yourself because you're doing wrongdoing behind closed doors and things of that nature, that is a problem, and our community needs to know it. When you come to fire your city manager, I apologize.
Thanks, Patricia. That's okay. Now I'm going to ask a question since Commissioner Westman had an extra 30 seconds.
Sure.
Is there anything, I'm going to break the rules myself. Is there anything else you need to say to finish your statement? Go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to say that when you fire a city manager in the middle of a crisis that we're in, of a pandemic, that alone should tell you that there should be something that is huge that we all should be aware of. And I, as a city commissioner, definitely should be made aware of, because I need to make sure I'm making the right decision for my community. And my vote was not to fire Keith, because there was none of that. There was none of that. I went into a meeting and had no clue, as well as our lawyer went into a meeting to have no clue. And they came back out to try to cover their butts to make sure no one was able to speak on it. And that is shameful. And you should not have people representing you on your commission. So I.
Thank you, Patricia. That's it. Okay. At least both the candidates both commissioners had an equal opportunity to address the subject. Lisa, I think you have the final word on this one.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up by saying open meeting laws are important and they're there for a reason. And I do agree that they need to be known and we need to know what's legal. So I have to agree with multiple things that have been said. Harry mentioned that closed sessions should be, I think they should be limited and only used if they're genuinely needed because I believe transparency is very important. I would also focus on having good relationships with all of the members of the commission and also, like Kyle said, respect is needed and stay professional inside a meeting and outside of a meeting. So, and I would plan to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that's a bit of a contentious question. I appreciate all you waded into that. The next question is going to be from Kathy Lindsay. And Kathy, if you would follow my lead, I'm going to change the order again. Again, I'm trying to keep people from being in the same order over and over again and the same person following the next person so that we can have a fair opportunity for everybody to address the topics without always being responded to by someone else. So Kathy, if you would, go ahead and start your question. And we're going to ask Diane Strong initially.
Okay, great. I think, we're all in agreement that everybody here has a love for this community and we all have our views on how it can be better. Kelly May has said many times on answers that have come that, a lot of people are in agreement about, the need for growth and our economic development and how we can bring more businesses and people here and really building our community. So beyond that, I know in COVID you haven't had the opportunity to campaign like you want. So beyond the basics, what do you want voters to know about you? Because a lot of things you're in agreement on, but what do you want voters to know about you, and what do you think sets you apart from the others?
Well, I want you to know that I love Frankfort, and that's why we moved here. And I think that I am for growth. I am for creating a Frankfort that the next generations want to live in, and that our kids will come home to and live and raise their children. But I'm also very aware that the growth needs to be thoughtful and not just explosions. Well, I guess what's really important to know is that I'm compassionate and I listen and I'm honest and I am transparent. So I don't know, I guess that's it.
Okay. Kyle Thompson, can you weigh on this?
I'd love to. What sets me apart is I'm a small business owner. I have had to make a payroll. I've had to work within a budget. I have grown a company to really great heights that I'm very proud of. And the reason that's important is because in the first and second quarters of next year, we are going to be in a significantly tighter budget scenario because of the loss of taxes, especially occupational taxes. And we're going to have somebody in there that is able to make fiscally responsible decisions. And I think that sets me apart.
Thank you. Anna Marie Rosen.
Okay, good question. I guess what makes me unique is I have both an art background and an engineering background. I love the outdoors and want to see that as part of the community. I rank quality of life very high and feel that that will attract both businesses and people to want to live here. We have everything going for us. We have a walkable city that could become a really great city and exciting place to be.
Thank you, Anna Marie.
You're welcome.
Lisa Unger.
I think I'm going to bring a fresh perspective. Like I sort of said in my opening statement, I felt that for years our commission didn't really represent me and didn't represent a lot of the community. I'd like to see more mothers involved in decision making, more women, more minorities. I would just like to see a more diverse group of people, shaping Frankfort's future. So that's why I'm here. And if I don't make the commission, I hope to inspire other women to get involved because it's needed. And I moved back to Frankfort after college and I was ready to invest in my city with the nonprofits I'm a part of. So I just think that's proof that I really care. I'm really involved and I love Frankfort. So thank you.
Thank you. Kelly May, you're up.
Thank you. I guess, I would just talk to the voters, and just remind them I'm a person. I'm just a regular guy trying to get by right now like everybody else. I got into this because I felt like my skills, as being a business owner and just having a passion for learning, wanting to always listen. I'm a very empathetic person, a big animal lover. That's a project of mine that I would like to see kind of resolved is, where we're at with the Franklin County Humane Society. I'd like to get that done. I'd like to move on. So I'm really excited to come in and kind of just help us fast track things that we've spent a lot of time here lately discussing. And that's, one of my strongest assets, I believe. I can work with just about anybody. People ask me all the time, who do I want to work with? Who do I want to see on this commission? Other than me, whoever else, I'm excited to work with everybody.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate your comments. Patricia Waldridge, you are up.
Well, what makes me different and stand out, I think, is I truly am a part of the community. I'm truly out there all the time, going to events, trying to be visual, accessible to my community. I'm walking the streets and engaging them and being open to allow them to let me know what their ideas are or even questions, even during the Brianna announcement. I was downtown walking to some of those businesses asking, hey, is everything okay? Do you have any questions for us? Just checking on them to make sure they're okay. But I think, to take I take it very serious to be your voice. It's time for city government to be that, just city government. And it's time for us to actually deliver on our deliverables and actually get Frankfort to grow because we have that opportunity to do that. And it's time to stop assessing and doing all of these things. It's time to move things forward. And I think I can be one of those to do that.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Harry Carver, you're up.
Over the years, I've worked in government, both in the executive branch and the legislative branch. And a lot of what I've had to do over time was bringing people together, bringing diverse people together to accomplish a goal or to move towards something. And I think that, that's an important thing to be able to play well with others. I think that if we're going to move forward, this next commission has to work well together and it has to work well with the community. Everybody has to feel like they have ownership of this town and feel like they're going to be moving it forward together. And we're not going to do that by fussing and fighting and carrying on. We're only going to do it if we bring people into the fold and move forward. And I feel really strongly about that. And that's why I'm running.
Thank you, Harry. Eric Westman, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you, David. I run a nonprofit and I dedicated my life a long time ago to helping others. It doesn't matter about what kind of money I make. I've had some loss in my life and I decided when I was young that I had to do something that helps people. And that is what I do. And it is a burden, I'll be honest, to hold this position. But I am dedicated to making sure that I help my town, my hometown, and being a voice. I fight all the time to make sure that there is an ability for our entire community to be involved in every discussion and be a voice that has not always happened. And there are a lot of people still in this community that want to limit that voice of our people. That cannot happen. We have to include all of our people if we want to work together and create a better future. It has to be part of an initiative that comes together, and I've been fighting for that.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, Kristen Cantrell, there you are. Hi. You are going to have, I believe, the last question. So if you'll follow my lead again, we're going to do the reverse order that we just did, which means Eric Westman, you have the first opportunity to answer this next question. Kristen, you have the floor.
Okay, so Frankfort operates with a city manager form of government. Do you support that form of city government? And if so, what specific actions would you take to educate Frankfort citizens about this structure? And specifically, how would you make this structure more responsive and accountable to the people?
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. We do have that form of government, and I do support it as long as that is the form of government that our community decides that we want. I think perhaps it's time we have a discussion. We have had a rotating door for quite a long time, well before me, that maybe we need to look at something else and see if that would potentially benefit our future. None of the communities around us that are growing actively that we like to compare ourselves to have the same form of government as us. But I believe the real struggle lies in the parameters that have not been set for our city manager to operate under. I was asking for these during this last term. Bowling Green is really considered the gold standard, if you will, for defining the parameters of the city manager. Frankfort has very few definitions and roles for that person to act with under, and I think we need to better define the role to be able to have better expectations.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Harry Carver.
I've said many times that I do support the city manager form of government. I think with a community our size that it makes sense to have a professional administrator that's responsible for city government. I think that the commission needs to set broad policy goals and allow the competent staff that you've hired to administer them. I think what's happened over the years, and perhaps we haven't defined the city manager's role sufficiently. We haven't perhaps evaluated their performance and had the expectations made clear to them. But also, elected officials over time have undermined the city manager and kept them from doing their job. And the one thing about when you have city commissions that change every 2 years, the city manager is there throughout as one commission leaves and another begins. And to have that continuity is very important. Now, it's up to the next commission to hire that person. And I think this is a critical thing for us to do. And whether we have a...
Okay. I'm sorry, Harry. Ran out of time. Patricia Waldridge. Ms. Waldridge, you have the floor.
Yes, so I think that the city manager style of government can work in Frankfort. You definitely have to have the right leadership. And of course, our Board of Commission, the prize of the people that it is, they can barely respect women, let alone other people on the commission. And so when you don't respect or understand your position that you applied for or that you're running for, that's an issue. And so you need to go back and basically read your job description on what that is. But I think that it works very well. It's just, as Harry shared, it's an undermining personal agendas that people have. You know, I've been challenged as a woman, you know, many times and even spoken from Eric Westman that I'm an uneducated woman because of some of the things that I've said on our board. And for that, you know, come on. You know, it's just being able to work with people and being respectful.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Waldridge. Mm-hmm. Okay, next up is, I believe, Kelly May. Kelly, you're up, sir.
Thank you. It's not something, that my campaign or my candidacy really focused on was coming in here to try to change our form of government. What I can say is that we have to remember that not one individual, not one mayor, not one city manager, not one commissioner, not one anybody is going to get the things done that we need done in this community. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us getting together, being positive, being professional, treating one another with respect. We keep hearing that. And I hope that if I get the opportunity to serve, that I can kind of make that the forefront of City Hall, respect and professionalism, transparency. So simply put, as I've said to the voters, if it makes sense, factual, data-driven decisions, I'm going to support it. I think it might be time to start having that conversation, but it's not something I'm running on with the idea of trying to take 2 years to change our city form of government.
Thank you. Thank you. Lisa Unger.
I do believe that our city manager form of government is good and can work for us. Everyone just needs to know the rules and what their roles are. So, if we have a brand new commission that comes in, we need to be educated on what our roles are, as well as the staff in our community. But I do believe we have a great staff, and I would plan to be able to work well with others. I'm going to piggyback on what Kelly said. I plan to be respectful, professional, and able to work well with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you. Anna Marie Rosen.
Great. Thank you. I think it's a good question. The League of Cities has reviewed the different forms of city government across Kentucky. And of mid-sized cities, 40% have the city manager form that we have. And I think that it works, it can work. I agree with Kelly on having respect for all the different people involved and what their roles are. And I think a way to educate the public, which was one of the things you brought up, was the website that was put together by the Public Works Department called Frankly Speaking KY. And they did an informational video of how the Public Works Department decides which roads to work on, and followed it up with, if you have questions, contact these people. And I think that same type of communication tool would work very well for informing the public of how the city manager system is meant to work.
Thank you, Anna Marie. Kyle Thompson, sir.
Thank you. I am a fan of the city manager form of government. Unfortunately, over the last 20 plus years, we haven't had the opportunity to truly see if that is effective in Frankfort and Franklin County. We've had a life expectancy for a city manager of about 2.8 years over the last 20 years. And that's just getting going before they're removed from the office or they move on. I think that to make sure that we educate the public, which was the question, is that we give the directives and let the city manager lead. Get out of the way and let the city manager lead, and then let the public know who is in charge of those decisions, and get the politics out of it. The politicians are the ones who make the decisions about directing, but the lead goes to them.
Thank you, Kyle. Diane Strong, you have the final word on this question.
I do support the city manager form of government. While I think that all of the commissioners and the mayor will bring amazing assets, none of us are really trained to run a city. So having a professional who has experience in doing that is always going to be an asset. With that, I would say that if explaining it or educating the public, of course, keep it up on the website, make it very clearly defined how it works, but also in our meetings, being clarifying, and especially with the viewership that we're getting lately, I think kind of talking about what's happening and how, these decisions are being moved over to the manager and what our expectations of him are at that time. So
thank you, Diane.
Communication.
Thank you. I work with my leadership Frankfort folks. That's this word I use all the time, communication, and it's easy. It solves a lot of problems. Okay, we don't quite have enough time for another full round, so I'm going to ask my panel if they have any specific questions or short questions that they have that they're just dying to get in here before we end this forum. Kathy, Steve, Kristen, anything?
Steve?
No?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, good.
You good?
Fun discussion.
Okay. Great. Okay. Well, thank you. Again, I appreciate all of y'all's patience and going through. I know this is a long, arduous ordeal. This is maybe one of the last big opportunities to connect with the entire community. The plant board's going to edit this, and they're going to start airing it next week. It'll air through the election, similar to the other things that are being aired out there. So it's the last chance, maybe the last chance you have to reach the entire community at one time in a basis where it'll be carried over time. So again, I appreciate all of your time and in participation. When we did the opening comments, we went in alphabetical order, starting with Harry and ending with Eric. As I usually do in these things, I'm going to reverse that order for the closing statements. Each of you will have 1 minute to make your final call for why you're running and why the people of Frankfort should elect or reelect you. So, Eric Westman, sir, you have 1 minute to make a closing statement.
Thank you, David, and thank you everyone for participating tonight. It has been my honor to serve the community for almost 2 years as your commissioner. I was born and raised in Frankfort, and I've chosen to build my life and live in my hometown. And I've been dedicated to this community, to making and trying to make it a better place for all of us. You know, leadership isn't easy, and hard decisions are often not popular, as we found out. As the saying goes recently, the getting elected is easy, governing's harder. Kathy had mentioned that one to me, but I'm dedicated to making the hard decisions and going against what's easy to create a better future for our town. I am by far the most qualified candidate to lead our community, and given the current climate, I'm the only candidate with the competency and the respect to lead our community. I have a proven record and a vision for where our community can go. Now more than ever, experience matters, and we need continuity of government during these uncertain times, which I'll provide. And as the most knowledgeable candidate to continue to protect and serve this community, I ask for your vote to continue to build a better future for Frankfort. Thank you, and you can find me on Facebook and all of the usual places, www.ericwestman.com.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Okay, Patricia Waldridge, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Great. Well, thank you guys for having us, definitely. And thank you for everyone joining. I'm asking for your vote for reelection to keep the ball going in the right direction. I will continue to work with the community and staff as I have to move Frankfort forward. I will work with the new board and continue to be a great leader in all that I can do to push the city's needs ahead, and also be supportive to the incoming commission and help them become abreast in the issues that we have. I just want to take a moment to say, you really have to vet out these candidates and know truly what we have. Obviously, this commission really showed themselves, and it's time to end this mess. It's time. And it's time for, quite honestly, Mr. Westman, your time is up. And you've really harmed this community. And I am so ashamed that you sit here and you talk bad about anyone being competent on here, because I would love to have any 4 of these besides you to sit beside me on the commission. And I expect to see that hopefully on November.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry, you ran out of time. Lisa Unger, why should you be elected to be a city commissioner here in Frankfort on November 3rd?
Well, Frankfort has a chance this election to make positive change in our city leadership. And I want to be a part of that change. And I hope to provide better quality of life for our citizens and more opportunities. And I'm running to truly try to represent the citizens in my city. So like I mentioned earlier, as the president of the Frankfort Striders, a local running club, and also my involvement with Walk Bike Frankfort, I've fought for my city's health, wellness, accessibility, and safety. And as a lifelong resident of Frankfort and leader of those nonprofits, I've really gotten to know and understand the priorities and needs of our citizens. So I promise transparency, compassion, and practicality. I just want to make sure that you vote for a commission this year that can work together and focus on what's most important, which is you and your city's future. So vote Lisa Unger, number 6 on the ballot. You can find me on Facebook and my website, lisaforfrankfort.com. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Lisa. Perfect timing. Kyle Thompson, why should we elect you to be a city commissioner?
Thank you for having this event. It's very important for all of us. I believe that I am a positive voice for progress that is needed in my hometown. We need to move forward. We need real growth. I don't know where the numbers are that Mr. Westman came up with 7% growth. That doesn't jive with any other numbers that are out there. The reality is we need to grow, and we haven't done that in a long time. And so we need to focus on that. And we need people who can make fiscally tough decisions in a time that we're going to be facing over the next 2 years. And I believe I'm that person. You can find me on Facebook. You can also go to my website, votekylethompson.com. I ask for your vote on November the 3rd, and I would be humbled to receive it. Thank you for having us tonight.
Thanks, Kyle. Diane Strong, 1 minute.
Well, I want to thank you for having us today. This is a great opportunity. I really do feel like this is an opportunity. Like I just want to give back to my community. I've mention that I'm planning to give my paycheck back to projects in the community that'll enhance it. And this is a labor of love for me. I have a lot of vision. I have a lot of big ideas. I think we've proven that. And the big ideas have been successful. I think I'm very easy to work with, and I have lots of energy and optimism. Always see the silver lining. I'm a person who says, how can we get it done? Don't give me the reasons why we can't get it done. So if you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out. You can email me at dianestrong@ymail.com. My website is dianestrong.com, or I'm on Facebook at Frankfort Strong, Diane Strong for City Commission.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, next up is Anna Marie Rosen, 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the Chamber, the State Journal, Cap City Communications, and the Frankfort Plant Board for hosting this forum. It is very difficult with the pandemic for candidates to campaign, and so this is a very important tool. I really love living in Frankfort, and I would like to contribute to making Frankfort an even better place to live, work, and visit. I have 3 important goals that I hope to achieve if elected as a commission member, and that's first, to help residents reduce their utility bills. When I was on the Frankfort Plant Board, we put aside money for energy audits, which are free to customers, and I would see the commission as giving an incentive to people to actually follow through on those. Number 2 is retain our historic character as we rebuild the area where we lost the convention center and include the public's input on that. And third, to improve our recycling. We now use Lexington recycling. We could replace that with West Rock recycling and be able to recycle all plastics, glass, and paper. Let's work together.
Thank you, Anna Marie. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Kelly May, you have 1 minute, sir, beginning right now.
Thank you. And as everybody said, I echo that. Thank you all for hosting this. It's very important that we continue the transparency and the information, passing it on to you as we can. So thank you all at home for having us into your home and watching this. Simply put, right now, Frankfort has all the pieces ready to come together to make us a world-class city. Make sure that when you think about who's going to be leading that charge, that you think about who carries themselves in a professional way, who makes decisions based on facts, not on opinions. I want you to know, as a candidate, I've spent my time during my campaign, instead of focusing on raising money, going door to door or putting signs up, although we've done some of that, taking the time to meet with people in our community that are experts that I admire. Vicki Brennenberg, for example, she and I walked the majority of downtown just the other day to look at ways we can make sure that we protect our heritage as we move forward and continue the progress. I've met with ranking members of law enforcement here. I've talked to them about some of the issues we're seeing. I've talked with members in our community that are leading the charge for racial justice. I want you to know I'm committed. I'll continue that commitment. I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you so much.
Kelly, thank you very much. Harry Carver, you have the last closing statement. 1 minute, sir.
I'd like to think that I'm uniquely qualified to serve on the City Commission. And for the last 5 years, I've been back in the private sector. For many years before that, I worked in state government. In my most recent job, I worked with local governments across the state and saw the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I think I have a pretty good grasp of where we can go and what we can do. I've also been involved in the community from a number of nonprofits, including starting the Franklin County Community Fund, our local endowment. So I feel really good about my experiences and what they would bring to the commission. I commit to govern with transparency. I believe that we can manage our money in such a way that we can make the strategic investments that will help get us out of the current economic situation that we find ourselves in because of the pandemic. And I think we need to create the environment that allows our city to grow and grow in a responsible way so that all of our citizens can succeed. So I ask for your vote. You can find me on Facebook or on my website at carverforfrankfort.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the neighborhoods.
Thank you. On behalf of the Frankfort Area Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank all of you for participating. Our commission candidates, Harry Carver, Kelly May, Anna Marie Rosen, Diane Strong, Kyle Thompson, Lisa Unger, Patricia Waldridge, and Eric Westman. Thanks to all of you for your patience. I want to thank my panelists, who we could not have done this without them. They did a great job. Steve Stewart from the Frankfort State Journal, Kathy Lindsay from the Frankfort Plant Board, and Christy Cantrell from Cap City Communications. Many thanks to all of them. Thanks to Susie Hosley, who's the incoming interim president of the chamber since Carmen's retiring. Good for her. She was also our timekeeper. And if you at any point in time felt like I abused the end of your statement, I apologize. I was following Susie's lead. And finally, again, our sponsors, the chamber's co-sponsors, the State Journal, the Plant Board, Cap City Communications, that's easy for me to say, and together, Frankfort. Again, I'm Dave Weller, wishing you a good night and good luck to all of the candidates. Again, remember to vote on November 3rd, 2020 or before. Thank you. Good night.